Hey, I'm Dr. Bax, and today my partner Dr. Chuck will be explaining to you why the Vikings were so successful at raiding. They were so successful because they had knowledge and surprise over the villages. The Vikings always had the best equipment, and lastly, the Vikings were the very skilled warriors.
The Vikings maintained a network of allies which told the Vikings when and where to strike on towns and villages. Usually the places where the Vikings attacked didn't have many defences and couldn't even try to hold back the Vikings from raiding the monasteries and villages. Often the Vikings would attack the villages during the night and at times when the monks were least expecting it. The Vikings had longboats which helped them enter and navigate the rivers with ease. The Vikings were very skilled navigators, which meant they could get to the village quickly and easily.
This is what happened at Lindsay Farm in 793 CE. The Vikings came out of the blue in a type of surprise attack that no one thought possible, says Rosedale. The Vikings had everything: axes, swords, spears, bows and arrows, shields and armour. The Vikings always had the best available equipment at all times. In fact, many of the swords used by Vikings came from Frankish swordsmiths who produced exceptionally good swords. But as Frankish rulers began to realise that their own weapons were being used against them, they prohibited the selling of them to the Vikings, says Rosedale. Viking longships could sail in shallow water. They could travel up rivers as well as across the sea. In a raid, the Vikings' longship could be hauled up on a beach. The Vikings could jump out and start fighting, and then make a quick getaway if they were chased.
Vikings lived in very violent times and they idolised great warriors and the warrior culture. All male Vikings were required to complete a weapons training. The Vikings did this so that they could defend their villages during sieges.
When they went raiding villages, they didn't look like crazy farmers. Instead, they looked like well-educated and trained soldiers who knew how to fight. The Vikings were also not afraid to die. This helped them run into the villages without being nervous. According to a saga about the Norwegian king, Magnus Barefoot, who died young during a raid in Ireland, he said, "Kings are for honour, not a long life." It is a pretty good illustration of the mentality of Vikings warriors. It was honourable to die valiantly on the battlefield, and honour was more important than anything, says Rosedale.
Vikings lasted so long because of being so successful at raiding. They always knew where their enemies were and when to attack. They always had the best equipment at their fingertips. And finally, the Vikings were very, very skilled warriors and had no fear of death. Subsequently, this is why the Vikings were so successful at raiding.